Hey guys, I'm back again, and I'm here to do the mid-year book Freakout tag. Okay, if you've been following me on here for a minute, you know tags really aren't my thing, but I'll do them every now and then because this one is like a useful one, you know? It gives me pause on what I've been reading for the year, so I figured why not break that one out. It's already a little bit past the mid-year mark, but be that as it may, I'm gonna make it work. So here we are, let's get started. The best book I've read so far this year is definitely hands down this one right here, which is The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. This book is so good. So this is a story of fraternal twins and their family life. And this book begins kind of on the idea of the fraternal twins being odd and out of place. And eventually what winds up happening is the parents divorce. And so the mother takes her two kids, the fraternal twins, to go back and live with her parents. So with that being said, eventually there's some family issues that pop up here and there. The twins are pretty much left to their own devices. And subsequently, there is a tragic incident that happens that sort of changes the course of the story for everyone. But I have to admit, this is probably one of the best books I've read that has a way of writing, going back in time, going forward and back in time on a regular basis, but yet not leaving the reader behind. Arundhati Roy does a brilliant job with that. But not only that, she does also some great things where she makes her writing feel like poetry in places. And there's a lot of repetition and things that call attention to the reader and make us even more invested in the story behind these fraternal twins. I highly recommend this for those of you who love literary fiction and who don't mind the back and forth in time. Like I said, the back and forth is done extremely well. But I put stress on it if you are not particularly into literary fiction to maybe give this one a miss. But if you do love it, definitely get on to Arundhati Roy. This is some really good writing. It's a good book. Just 5 stars. Can't go wrong with this one. So yeah. Okay, the best sequel I've read so far is this one right here, which is Germinal by, of course, my favorite, Émile Zola. This is book 13 in the Rougon Macau series. This is a book that explores life in the mines of families, men, women, and children that are having to go down in the mine in order to make a living for the family to survive. This story also plunges into the plight of the miner and their lack of working rights. This is their right as workers to get paid correctly and to have people who care about their well-being when they go down into the mine. As we explore this 19th century novel, this is the beginning of, before we actually have unions. And so the plight of these workers is pretty destitute. They aren't paid well. They're docked at every chance the owners can get. They're docking the pay of these workers. And they act like they are doing the workers favors, that they're giving them so much stuff, but in fact, they're not giving them hardly anything at all. And the workers are having to literally risk their lives. The husbands are going down, the wives go down sometimes, and the children go down. This is an extraordinary tale. It's very emotional. It had me worked up a good while before I could stop thinking about it because it's so haunting the way it's written. I highly recommend this one if you have not read any of the Wugan Macau series. I'm reading them in order with my friend Anna, but you don't have to read them in order. You can read them out of order. They're made like that for a reason. This is one of the ones I highly recommend. It's a really good read. It's very long, 700 pages. I'm not sure how much it would be in English. This is the French version, but you can also get an English version as well, which I think it goes by the same name. I'm not sure. I'll put on the screen the English name if I can get my hands on it. But I highly recommend you read this one. It's really, really good. Okay, so for that one, I have chosen this one right here, which is The First Ladies. This one is written by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. They co-authored The Personal Librarian, which I absolutely loved. And so I had to get this one, which is all around the friendship between Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune. I cannot wait to get to this one. I just know it's going to be so, so good. So yeah, let me know below if you're interested in reading this one as well. And that has to be these two right here. So the first one is Zadie Smith's The Fraud. I've been waiting for a very long time for Zadie Smith to come out with another, fiction novel, not these little bitty bits and things, short things that she's been doing that I'm just not interested in. So I'm really excited about The Fraud. I cannot wait. It has not arrived yet, but I have a pre-order out for that. And of course, I pre-ordered Jesmyn Ward's Letters to Send, and I pre-ordered the Waterstones copy that is supposed to be signed. I cannot wait. OMG, cannot wait. These two are going to be fire, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. The biggest disappointment, I don't have it here, but I'll put a picture here. And it is called Five Smooth Stones. This is a book that I buddy read with my friend Rosa. And this is a book that has been on my shelf for forever and ever, it seems like. And it was forever and ever on Rosa's shelf. So we decided to read it together. Okay, I'm going to say it here. I highly recommend you do not read this book. First of all, it's over 800 pages, which is scandalously long for no reason. But not only that, it starts very, very well. We kind of see that the author is really seems to understand plight of African Americans. It starts in New Orleans, and it's going through Jim Crow period. And the way she writes it, you can feel like, yeah, okay, she understands the plight of African Americans at this time period. But then the story takes a shift, and the young boy who becomes the main character of the novel, goes to school up north. It's predominantly white, and then that's when the whole freaking book takes a shift out into nowhere land. And I was interested in the beginning, and then I became quickly disinterested once he got like midway through the school period. I don't know why this book is lauded as being something special when it's really not. And it has so many kind of stereotypical ways of describing some characters. But not only that, I mean, we go through quite a lot, and then we have a very shocking ending, which gave me pause and made me a little angry and made me say, but why would she do that? No, this is not a good one. I gave it 2 stars, and that's even being generous. It was probably more like a 1, but I highly would not recommend you pick that up. It was the biggest disappointment for me. And the biggest surprise for me is this book right here, which is The God of Good Looks. Come on, Brianna McIver. This book was such a surprise for me. Okay, so this was the read-along book for Caribathon that was being hosted by Karen from Run Right Reads and Peta from Comfy Cozy Up. So I joined them on that read-along, and I'm so glad I did. I regret not having bought the physical copy. I'll probably get around to purchasing that copy eventually. The God of Good Looks was a very interesting look at relationships and also how you think you know someone, but in fact you really don't. So because you think you know them, you make these suppositions about them and things like that. It also talks about living life on the island of Trinidad and how island life can be difficult, especially if you do something that everybody knows about and everybody is not happy with what you've done. And you then carry that load around with you because everyone then judges you on that action. MacIver did a brilliant job with this book. It was told with two voices. We had the voice of the young girl. I think her name was Bianca. And then we had the other main character was Obadiah. And these two, their voices are done so well. We can imagine what these characters look like, and we can actually sympathize with these characters and what they're going through. One of the best books of the summer for me, because it wasn't traumatic, where you could smile a bit and have a little chuckle, but then at the same time have thought-provoking ideas around, certain serious topics. So I highly recommend The God of Good Looks if you haven't read it. It's a very, very good book, and it is a quick read. Yeah. My favorite new author has got to be Daniel Black, and he wrote this one right here, which is called Perfect Peace. Okay, now this book really, really blew me away. I had the pleasure of reading this with the Read So Lit book club that I run on Patreon, and we had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Daniel Black about his book, Perfect Peace. Now, if you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. I think it's a book that's written a little bit before its time. I don't want to get into too much about what it's about because I need you to read it and, take it all in as you're reading. Okay, this book was published in 2010, and it explores this family, and the woman is pregnant with her 7th child, which she is hoping will be a girl because she's literally had 6 boys. But when the baby is born, it is not a girl. It is once again a boy. So it's from there that we explore what happens with this birth and how all of this affects the family and the Black community in which the story takes place. I highly, highly recommend this one because it is written to a fault. Brilliant. He doesn't make one mistake, and he wraps everything up like properly, but yet everything is dealt with to the right intensity. It's a fantastic story. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I don't have a newest fictional crush, and I don't have a new favorite character either, because my characters are usually pretty tragic in the worst kind of way. So yeah, it's going to be 0-0 for those two. Okay, so that is going to have to be this one right here, which is Émile Zola's L'Œuvre, or it's also called The Masterpiece. So this book is book 14 in the Rougon Macau series. And this book explores an artist who is so passionate about his work that like he could probably forget how to eat, sleep, and shower. I'm just saying. It is a very interesting novel, but I have to admit I was a little bit put off by it because I thought it would explore deeper the world of art through an artist's eyes. But in fact, what it does is it explores art and creating art through an artist's eyes. And it's through an artist who is insanely passionate about painting and about their work. So this one it takes a turn that is pretty tragic, and it's pretty sad and kind of hard to stomach. But when we're dealing with people who are passionate as this, I can see how something like this would even happen today. This is L'Oeuvre, the Masterpiece by Émile Zola. So the book that made me the happiest is this one right here, which we already talked about, which is The God of Good Looks. And it is literally the only book that I've read since the beginning of the year that is even close to being light, happy, and kind of, free. I guess it says a lot about the kind of things that I read. So yeah. Now, I haven't seen any book to film adaptations this year, but I'm going to talk about one that I would hope to eventually get a chance to see. And that is the adaptation of Pachinko, which you can find it over on Apple TV. Now, I haven't seen it, but when we discussed Pachinko in June, I remember Michael talking about how well he thought that Pachinko had been filmed, and that in some cases he thought it was filmed better than the book was recounted. So that made me actually want to put that on a list of an adaptation to watch. So this is the one I would watch if I could. Okay, and that has to be, this one right here has to be the best review I've done on this year. I haven't done very many of them, but I did this one on Nervous Conditions, and I think it's a very good review. And this is a very good beginning of a trilogy. I highly recommend it. This is one that you shouldn't miss out on. The third book in this series was longlisted on the Women's Prize a couple of years ago, but this is the first book of the trilogy. And if you're interested in watching my review on that, it will be linked below. And I have to say, this is the most beautiful book I've bought this year. Now, I don't feel like a lot of these companies, publishing companies, are doing us a world of good. But when you look at that and you see that it's in papers, just gorgeous, gorgeous gold. Even when you turn and look how that's done. And when you go, pages are done really nicely. This is the back. It looks really cool. This is probably the prettiest book I've bought all year. It's gorgeous. Haven't read it yet though, but it is definitely on my to be read list for this year. So, the books that I need to read by the end of the year, I'm going to just focus on two in particular. The first one is this one, which is The Age of Vice. I bought this at the beginning of the year, but have not had a chance to crack on with it. It is quite a chunker, but I am looking forward to it. It is coming in at 546 pages, but I'm good. And the next book is this one right here, The Covenant of Water. This is by Abraham Verghese. He is a little favorite of mine since I read his book, Cutting for Stone. This one is coming in at 720 24 pages, but I feel like it's going to be an awesome read. In my opinion, I think I'm going to love this one because I really loved Cutting for Stone. So yeah, so these two are must reads by the end of this year for sure. So that's it. Those are all of the prompts for my mid-year book Freakout tag. Let me know what you think of some of these. Let me know what books you want to finish before the end of the year, and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye.